right, welcome back to Miss Tim's online math class. Today's episode is brought to you by Moose PJs that we got in Yellowstone. They actually belong to Summer. I want to give a big shout out to my 11 subscribers. All right, except I think one of them is me because I have 2 YouTube accounts, so 10. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. All right, so this week we did a guessing jar with the Nerf darts. And before we get to the big finale of how many Nerf darts were in the jar, we are going to start out with the second question on the survey, which was, would you rather? So, would you rather eat a small can of dog food or these lovely rotten tomatoes? All right, so let's see what we got. Would you rather? And it looks like about 31 of you would like to eat dog food, and 14 of you are really brave and you're going to eat the rotten tomatoes. All right, so I wanted to do a little percentage work because we had done that this year. Have a little review. I'm going to go through it kind of quickly. If you want to, go ahead and pause the video and take a look at this beautiful math. All righty, so we got 45 kids who took the survey. Remember our little way to figure out our percentage. We're going to take the part over the whole is going to equal a decimal, and then we'll turn that into a percentage. All right, for dog food, we have 31 kids out of 45. We use division, and we come up with 0.68 repeating. That bar over the 8 means that it's repeating. I'm going to go ahead and round that before I turn it into a percentage. So I'm going to round that to 0.69, 69 hundredths. And when I move the decimal over 2 spots to the right, I get 69%. So 69% of you would like to eat dog food. All right, let's take a look at rotten tomatoes. We got 14 out of 45. Do some division. We're going to get 0.31 repeating. Then I want to go ahead and round that as well. It'll just stay at 0.31, 31 hundredths. We're going to move the decimal point over 2 places to the right, and we end up with, ta-da, 31%. 31% of you would like to eat rotten tomatoes. All right, so you can see when we look at these percentages, it's really clear that more than half of you are willing to eat dog food, but only about a third, 31%, is going to eat the rotten tomatoes. Okay, next up in our survey, we had this word puzzle. So if we take a look at this word puzzle, what does that mean? Well, it means that this word back is in the middle of the minutes, and there are 5 minutes. So the word puzzle means back in 5 minutes. And I'd like to give a big shout out to these kiddos that got that word puzzle correct. That would be Sitlolly, Campbell, Amethyst, Logan, and Brody. Good job, guys. All right, next up on our survey was a little logic puzzle. If you remember your logic puzzle, alrighty, I made a chart to go with that. So if we kind of group everything together, we're going to find out that the money is in the post office and the stamps are in the bank. They kind of go together. The food is in the library. The books are in the supermarket. They go together. The pets are in the greenhouse, and so therefore the flowers, are in the pet shop. These students got this one correct. A lot of you did. Cadence, you said doghouse, so I'm going to go ahead and take that. Nina, Emiliano, Phoebe, Julian, Natalie V, Hayden, Jasmine, William, Carlito, Susanna, Ruthie, Campbell, Shay, Edgar, Amethyst, Kingsley, Gabe, Logan, Sam, Champ, and Layla. Good job. You guys all figured out that the flowers go in the pet shop. I also want to say Vicente and Arnaud, thanks for your answers. They made me laugh. So good job, guys. All right, on to the main event, and we are talking about those darts in the jar. This week, we have been studying histograms. So what I wanted to do first, in order to organize my information, was to create a frequency table. I took all of the guesses and wrote them down and gave a tally mark for every time that guess was chosen or was presented to me in the survey. Right, so we wrote that down, and then don't forget we've got one way over here. Yep, we'll talk about that guy in just a minute. So here, I actually made 2 histograms. This is my first histogram. I wanted to talk really quickly a little bit about the difference between a histogram and a bar graph. A histogram can only use numerical data, only can have numbers. A bar graph can use numerical data or categorical data. Categorical data would be something like, hey, what's your favorite dessert? If I were to ask that of all the kids in 6th grade, I'm going to get a lot of different answers, and those answers are going to be words. So that's going to be categorical, and I could make a bar graph with that, but I would not make a histogram with that information. A histogram needs to be numerical data. So I took the estimated number of Nerf darts in the jar, and I grouped those guesses into categories or into these little bars that I have here, that where we separated them into intervals. And for this particular bar graph, I decided to go ahead and try an interval of 20, which was similar to your Desmos activity that you did. All right, the first interval is going to be from 0 to 19, then 20 to 39, 40 to 59, 60 to 79. We've got 80 to 99, 100 to 119, 120 to 139. On the side of my histogram, I have the number of student guesses, and we can see in this range that we have 1 guess. In our next bar, or in our next range, our next interval, we had 19 guesses. In the next bar or range interval, we had another 19 guesses. And then over here in this interval, we had, I believe, 5 guesses. And then finally down here, for this guess way over here, you see it's kind of separated from all the other ones, 1 guess. If you remember this week, we talked a little bit about what happens when we have one data point that is separate from all the rest. That data point is called an outlier. And this 1 guess that is over here is the outlier. All the other guesses are pretty close together. And then this one is out all by itself. All right, one of the things you'll notice about the histogram is that I can't tell you exactly what everyone's guesses are. I've just put them into these different intervals, into these different groups to have a sense of where the data falls. Now, when I made this, I used this interval of 20, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know if I think that was a really good interval. So I went ahead and made a second histogram. And this histogram, I decided to use an interval of 10. I think this was a better choice. As you can see, we have a better sense of what the data is when I had a little bit of a smaller interval. Also, I think when I have that smaller interval, you can really see that outlier way over there, that 1 guess that's way off by itself. And then I can go back through. I've got 1 guess in this range. I've got, I believe it was 9 guesses here. We went up to 11, or 8 guesses here. Sorry, 8, 11, 10, 9, and then we've got 2 and 2. Right, so these are our intervals in the histogram. And if I were to say to you, hey, what is the typical guess? What do most kids sort of guess? What would you say? You'd probably say, hey, it's about here in this range, the 30 to 39 range. But we can also see that this data is pretty close together, especially the bulk of the guesses are right here. And when we have this outlier way over here and a little bit more data on this side of the typical response, we have that curve that is skewed to the right. All right, so if we're talking about what is the shape of our data, it's skewed to the right because of that outlier and because all of this data is on this side, the right side of the typical guess. Okay, hopefully that's going to clear up a little bit more about what is a histogram and how does it work. And now we are ready for the big reveal. Okay, here we go. And drum roll. The total number of darts in the jar was 46. And our big winner this week was Mr. Cole. He got 47. So good job, friend. Hey, make sure that you join me back here next week where we will talk about another guessing jar, go over maybe some more histograms and some other great math concepts. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you next week.